On your mobile phone and on all social media platforms. Jambo Radio.
You are listening to Jambo Radio Scotland, online, on your smart speakers, and on DAB digital radio in Edinburgh and Glasgow. You can download the Jambo Radio app on Google Play and App Store. Now, it's time for our conversations with inspirational individuals in Scotland and beyond. This is a moment with Sade and Enoch.
Hello everyone, my name is Enoch, the host of the show, and I'm here with the wonderful Manira Ahmad, but you're going to get to meet her over the coming minutes. Thank you for joining us on the show today. Today we'll be talking to Manira about our journey. For a lot of us, we aspire and we hope to get to the top of our career, to get into leadership positions, maybe leadership at home or leadership at work or leadership somewhere else, maybe place of worship and all that. And sometimes we look up to leaders that we can see and think they are superhuman, and sometimes wonder, oh, how did they do it? And sometimes think, oh, they must be perfect. They must have all the answers. But Manira is going to unpack that for us and hopefully bring the human side or the humane side to leadership and the journey to leadership. And hopefully what we are trying to get to at the end of the show is for all of us to look at ourselves and be comfortable with our journey and be comfortable to know that we're on the right path to whatever it is we're going to, and know that, the leaders, some of the leaders we look up to, if not all of them, they've all made mistakes, they've all had challenges, they don't know all the answers, but you know what, they've got maybe some traits or some skills or whatever it is, something within them that has helped or propelled them to their leadership position. But before we jump in, you can call us on 0141 530 2787 or send us a WhatsApp. It's 0745 990 6822, or you can message us on Facebook, Jambo Radio Scotland, or Twitter, or is it X, it's called these days, Jambo Radio 1. We are also on Instagram, jamboradio.scotland, and you can also send us an email, info@jamboradio.co.uk. I think the one we've not joined yet is TikTok, so we'll probably get on TikTok and Thread, I think, shortly. So you can join us on any of those platforms, and you can download the app on the Play Store or the App Store. It's Jambo Radio, so you can listen live or watch or listen to a show later on. So to Manira, thanks for joining us, Manira. So you said you just walked from your office a few minutes away, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So we are very fortunate, Enoch, to have recently moved into an office. It's actually the most sustainable office in Glasgow City in Bothwell Street.
Wow. And
we were just talking about sports there.
Yes.
It has a walking and running track on the roof.
You don't mean it?
I am spoilt. Enoch, we should have taken the show there.
We should have, and I think I'll bring my son. I would love to hear that. A walking and running track on the roof.
On the roof. And in the spirit of it's 177 Bothwell Street, it's 177 metres.
Interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Interesting. Okay. You didn't tell me this before. I'm definitely exploring that further. And so before we dig in or sort of go deeper, I'm always excited and intrigued by names, right? Because I'm Nigerian, and where I'm from, names have meaning, right? So I always want to explore that with others that I meet, if their names have got meaning or not. So you're Manira. So does Manira have a meaning? Where does the name come from?
Yeah, thank you. And firstly, before I go into that, Enoch, thank you so much, and to Jambo Radio to have me along. I really feel very privileged and humbled to be in this space.
No, we feel humbled to have you,
but
Manira.
actually I'm humbled to be in your space.
Come
to be
on,
honest.
Manira.
I hope I've buttered you enough, so please make my questions easy.
Yes.
So Manira is an Arabic name, and it means light. And it was actually my uncle, whose name is Manir, who named me, so I'm Manira. And it was as simple as putting an A at the end of his name. And it was beautiful because my dad and his brother, my uncle, didn't have any female siblings. And actually, my grandfather from my dad's side didn't have any female siblings either. So I was the first daughter in 3 generations from my dad, 3 generations. So that's an accolade that I hold very close.
I broke that record.
I did. I broke it. And then more came after that, thankfully. But, you know, it was a privilege, but I never felt that growing up that I was treated differently because of that. But it was beautiful. And I hear from my mum as well and my dad stories of not knowing how to deal with a daughter because they hadn't had one in 3 generations.
So you've got brothers?
I have brothers. I have 3 younger brothers.
Okay, so you're the first child, female, and then
first
brothers.
Child, and also, a girl. And it was amazing. It really was. And I was my grandfather's sidekick for the first sort of 9 years of my. Literally, I would go wherever he would go.
Wow, and it's interesting, right? So, I was saying earlier during the introduction that sometimes maybe leaders just have a trait that is in them. So could it be the case that maybe you had a bit of that being the first child and being the first female? Have you thought about that at all?
Do you know, actually, Enoch, that's a really great point because I've not made that connection. This is why conversations like this is so important because we live in such a busy life, don't we? A world that keeps going.
Yep.
You're the first one that's
made the connection.
I made that connection, and I'm glad that it has, and it's only taken 40 plus years, to make that connection.
Is that you trying to say you're for something?
No, obviously I'm 21. I'm 21.
Exactly.
I'm 21.
Cannot be. Come on, because if you're for something, then I'm doing something wrong.
So it was the. So maybe that's I'm going to have to reflect on that,
And you said in your early years. So don't take us back to your early years. You've described your upbringing as sheltered, but also deeply rooted in responsibility. So can you tell us what it was like growing up, how supporting your mother's education shaped you?
Yeah, and I guess for me growing up, I grew up in a very cultural, cross-generational household. So I had my grandparent, my grandmother had passed before I was born from my dad's side. So I had my grandparent, I had my mum and dad, and I had me and then my 3 younger siblings, And I don't think it's dissimilar to many of listeners that will be listening into this or watching afterwards, is that we are second generation, so we're in a place that education is really important, and also family. And the value of family and understanding and caring and looking after is very important.
So just to jump in, so you said second generation. So your parents migrated to Scotland? So
my mum had a very interesting journey whereby she was 17 and she was told that she was getting married. Never left her village, never left her little sheltered.
That beats Tinder.
The village. She hadn't left that. She had just finished high school, started college, and her parents told her, "You're getting married, and you're going all the way to the opposite side of the world to a lovely, sunny, not so sunny, actually, place called Scotland." And you know what she was said, and generationally, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to share this, Enoch, but I'm going to share it if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
What she was told by her parents at that stage, and it was only a couple of years ago my mum actually told this to me, is that they said to her, "Look, you can come back, right? Because we're sending you somewhere, you can come back, but we only want you back in a coffin."
Ooh.
No, Enoch, when I heard my mum say that first, I can't even explain how I felt as a 17-year-old to be sent to the other side of the world, then to be told that you can come back, but we want to see only in a coffin. We don't want to see you.
And is that to do with the stigma with divorce, or what's the underlying tone there?
I didn't think we would be talking about this, but I think it's a really important topic because it is part of it will be the stigma attached to divorce, but also culturally, what mum heard wasn't uncommon.
Okay.
Right, it was said to any daughter of that generation 40 years ago.
Like, bye.
That's it, and you can call it, it wasn't a big thing. It was aerial.
Writing,
Do you remember the blue fold-up letters you would, and they would 6 weeks apart before you got a response? Can you imagine to say, "I'm making dinner tonight, how many onions should I put in it?" Like, wait till 6 weeks.
The good old days.
And I think sometimes our generation, even me, I don't realise how lucky we are.
Granted, just instant.
So that really set context for her mind, and she
Yeah.
was very focused then when me and my brothers came along about education,
Yep.
but also family values, the importance of keeping us together.
Okay,
Yeah.
fun. Interesting. And is she still in Glasgow?
Yeah, she is,
Yeah.
and she just retired a few years ago. And you asked about the education piece. So my
Yeah.
mum, and again, this is, and I'm making this link now, Enoch, and I'm going to have to thank
alright.
you for this,
It's
right?
alright.
Because she was the first in her generation to go out and educate herself after being married.
Okay.
Right. So when I was about 11 or 12, she decided I want to go back to my education as well. So as we were entering into high school, my brother's still in primary school, she goes, I want to educate myself.
Yeah.
She knew the value of it. She
Yes.
knew the life-changing output that comes from it. And she went back and she went to the City of Glasgow College. Yeah. And at that point, they didn't have their fancy, big, huge campuses that they have at Riverside or
So
in the
it's
city.
just-
It was very basic. And they didn't have interpreters. So though she understood English, she couldn't pick up the Glaswegian accents
Yep.
really well.
Yeah.
And in Scotland, we talk fast,
Yeah.
don't we? We as if we're trying to catch a train
Yep.
every
Yep.
moment, as if
Yep.
we're talking so fast. So I remember my mum taking me into some of her classes, and she said to me, like, I want you to sit here and just take
Wow.
notes. I didn't really understand what that meant. And for me, it was like having been in another class. It was, I'm just listening to a teacher, her lecture, taking notes. And I would go home then at the end of the day, then I would translate what I'd taken notes into our native language, and she would then be able to take notes.
And your native language is?
Urdu, yeah.
So is
and
that from Pakistan?
Pakistan, that's
Yep.
exactly from Pakistan. And then she would take her notes, and then this went on for a period of 3 years, and she finished with her social work qualification.
Is
And
that
with
a
that,
degree or HND?
she did HND,
Okay.
and then she went in and did additional few modules after
Yes.
that as well. And then she spent 25 years with the Glasgow City Council within daycare services.
Wow.
As a social care worker. So she loved it, and she then used her skill and knowledge. So she was the first one from her generation to go out to work as well.
Yep,
Now,
fantastic.
the amount of stigma and backlash she got, but she did it.
From the culture or?
From the family, from her own parents, from the society, in a sense, to a degree where they were going to be, where she felt, am I going to get ostracized?
Yes.
Am I going to get
yeah.
excommunicated from the community? But she did it. So I think she took a lot of harm, that I didn't have to, that I didn't have to face, Enoch. And I don't actually appreciate it as well. I say it out loud, but I still owe her a debt, as we do to a lot of our elders, a debt of gratitude. And then in one generation, right, and this is a beautiful story for me, definitely. So she studied at City of Glasgow College. I am now on the board of directors for that college. Do you know? And
that is humbling.
Enoch, I never told the principal or the chair or that story. I only told them when I got in. So I didn't even use it as leverage to get in. And they said, why not? I said, I didn't know why I didn't, but I didn't. And then suddenly, unprompted, somebody asked, like we were just talking earlier, somebody asked, but why did you choose this college? Why not? You could have chosen any or university. Why? Yeah. And then when I told them the story, you could hear a pin drop. Everyone was in silence. The fact that, it's in one generation, the power of education.
Impressive, man.
Isn't it, Enoch?
Impressive, yeah.
Sorry. I'm humbled.
No. And also the circle in that story of you going as an interpreter for your mom for a few years and then coming back, I guess a few decades after, to be on the board and to hopefully also help shape how the school is run. And also for your mom as well, she, her going to do that degree was not just beneficial to her, it was also beneficial to the city of Glasgow from the point of view of they now had a different voice, more diversity, because Glasgow was getting more diverse at that point. So there was a different voice that could help deal with some situations that maybe the traditional Scots, if you call them that, may not be able to deal with.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that?
I think you're totally spot on. I think we're still on that journey in Scotland, aren't we? People like you, Enoch, and there's many people that'll be listening in and watching this later that are doing tremendous work and trying to change the rhetoric, change the narrative, but also to change how we are perceived. We are just not people of colour, are we? do you look how many fascinating things we do? Do you know, some of that are our light is hidden under a bushel. We don't even talk about it.
Yep.
Do you know, and the fact that you just sitting here between us in first 5 minutes of the conversation, you're like, well, hold on, if you're the first there, is that why your determination to be there first? So I think sometimes we don't even realise what change makers and rebels we are in the system, isn't it?
It's well, for us in the black community, we always say, you know, the those from your community came to Scotland before we came, you know. So for us, this is also our own first generation. So I'm sure when you were growing up in Scotland, the number of black people you saw then is definitely way different to the number of black people you see now. There was no Jambo radio then, you know. So it's an interesting time for us in our community as well to, I guess, break ground and make a name for ourselves, get embedded within the community, because you can't sit outside and just hope for change to happen. You've got to go in there, drive change, let people see why change is needed, not aggressively or anything, it's by just working cordially. And me personally, my belief system is we are all good first before XXXXX. So I believe people start out as good. So, you know, if you work with people, dialogue, let them understand why you think in a certain way, or why you think things should work in a certain way, then I think most people will come on board, because most people are good intrinsically. This is my belief. It could be a naive belief, but that's my view of humanity.
No, do you know what, Enoch? I've seen you in practice. I've seen you behind the scenes. I've seen you in front of the scenes, and I've seen you in the spaces in between where nobody sees you, not even yourself. Sometimes
I'm scared. Why are you seeing me?
No. Well, that's for
another show.
Well, I'm not sure that we can broadcast that live. But on a serious note, and what I've seen is people like you and me and others as well out there, is that we are intentional, right? We don't just turn up and hope for the best. We do that because part of that is our spirituality, our faith, isn't it? That brings in, I know you're a faith-based individual like I am, but we are intentional in what we do, isn't it? We turn up because we're going to do something, and that something for us and for others is going to lead to change. Now, it doesn't always, we know that, but our intentions are there. So we're still closer to that change than if we didn't bring our intention.
At all,
what do you think about that, Enoch?
I totally agree, because someone said something, I've heard it somewhere, that you can't, immigrants have a certain mindset. It's a mindset to win, and the reason for that is the reason why they migrated most of the time is for economic reasons. So, and the person was trying to make a case for locals in any country. I think this story actually came from America, where they took an immigrant and they took, you know, homegrown American, and they were comparing the two of them. And someone said that's an unfair comparison, because for someone homegrown, everything is there. You take things for granted, but for someone that's coming in as an immigrant, they've got a different mindset. The mindset is, I'm going to win. Win is be successful in my career, you know, have a nice house, have a nice car, whatever. So and I think that's what I'm seeing with a lot of immigrants. They come in here, the beginning, the early stages are tough, but they still have that grit of, I came here for one reason. I came here for a better life, for me, but more importantly, maybe for my children and the generations after them. And then that drives that grit to just keep going. I mean, your mom went to class when she couldn't really understand English, but she said, whatever it takes. I mean, think of it, how many locals would do that? And this is not bashing locals, it's just locals anywhere in the world. You know, but for an immigrant, you're more laser focused around your ambition and what you want to achieve, not just for you, it's for your children, and I guess for others coming after you as well. So that's my view on that subject. And
that's really strong, because one of the things I think, if you don't mind me sharing now, Enoch, if that's okay, and I know there's no right or wrong way of doing this, but all the way through my life I have set plans, not just professional plans, right, even down to, I know you're going to laugh at this, even down to things like what car I want to drive. right? And I'm not.
What are your plans for the cars you want to drive in your 60s? Do you have a plan for that yet?
No. I'm still 21. Why am I going to be thinking about 60?
I mean, considering your plan, you probably got Excel sheets, every 10 years.
But I think from joking aside, but the realistic bit, do you know, nothing for me is left to chance.
Happenstance.
Yeah. Do you know, it's sometimes, so faith tells us that you will always be in the place you're supposed to be in, right? So never doubt that, right? If it's hard or if it's easy, you're in the space you're supposed to be in. But actually, there's the bit of spirituality that tells us plan, you know, think ahead, be curious, isn't it? You are going through hardship for a reason, and I always believe we're never ever pushed through hardship more than what we can handle. But what you can handle will be different, Enoch, to what I can handle. What I can handle will be different to some of the listeners that are listening. But we will never be pushing. We're being pushed for a reason. It's because in the future that's going to make us more resilient. More grounded, and actually know where our focus is, isn't it? And that laser focus actually shouldn't be kind of just thrown by the wayside. Having a plan, a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, you can go as far as you want, right? But I try and make it meaningful and manageable. So normally up to 2 years, you can see that far ahead, can't you? Because the world's changing. Look, we had the pandemic. How did the world change so quickly? So that has made me realise planning ahead is good, but don't make it too far ahead.
Exactly, and also leave room for flexibility.
Oh yes.
Don't be too rigid. Like for example, the trip myself and my brother went to, we didn't plan 5 months, 6 months ahead. It was very impromptu. We saw the window, everything aligned. Maybe not everything, but the things that were not aligning, we shoved them around to make them align. And we're like, right, let's do it. And we did it, and we're very grateful for it, because there are just some things, if you keep planning, may never happen. So sometimes you just need to have that flexibility to just move things around. And I had to not cancel, we love meetings for that trip to happen. But so from what you're saying, it sounds like education played a big role in your your journey. So you eventually finished high school. Is that what it was called?
Yeah, I love that. It was only a couple of years ago. It was that. It wasn't the olden days.
I was trying to catch you.
And
back in the days.
I'm on tender hooks, So it was a very, from a outwardly looking, very traditional sort of education journey, but from closed doors there was nuances that meant that I couldn't properly integrate into the Scottish society. So for quickly answering your question about education, primary school, went to high school, secondary school we called it then. That's taking it back. Secondary school, and then on to getting my accountancy degree after that. So
you studied accounting?
Yeah, I did an accountant. I'm an accountant. I don't look like an accountant. People say that, you don't look like I'm like, what does an accountant look like these days? But
we could speak about IFRS and all that later.
There we go. But it's quite surprising, because what I do now isn't to do with accountancy, it's to do with people, isn't it? But we'll come back to that. But I want to say, but what happened, so when school would finish, I would go home, and when I would go home, I was the kind of extra pair of hands for my mum. So either she would be finishing her education, and I would go home, and I'd have to look after my brothers, cook's food. I mean, I learnt to cook when I was 13, Enoch, but proper, like a full-on meal for a family. And I didn't know till now. Don't laugh at this, right? I'm going to admit another bit of my life is I was taught by a 82-year-old BBG. BBG is the term we give out of love and respect to our elders. She was from India, not Pakistan. And when Mum had either had to stay back at college or to learn, she would come and help me. So
BBG, is that BBG?
No, BIBI. So it's BB, and G is J and I. And the G is the respectful bit. Like if I would say Enoch G, right, that would be me giving you additional respect as being an elder. So the G bit for us is the additional respect.
Interesting. We've got a similar thing in my language.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah, so it's, if I say Caro means good morning. But if I'm saying Caro to my mom, I'll say Caro. Is the respect part, is the I know you're older than me part. But Caro is my sisters, my brothers, my friends.
You just say it.
Yeah. So I'm teaching my son my language as well, and then teaching him those nuances. Like, if you're greeting if you're saying this to your sister, you say this. But if you're saying it to me or to your mom or aunties and uncles, you put it this way. So it's interesting.
And I didn't add the G in because obviously you're younger than me, aren't you? You're younger than 21.
I know, I'm just 19, right?
There we go. I'm going to come back here even more, right? So what was I saying? Yeah, so the bit about cooking. So I learnt from, the BBG said, look, I'm here. I can't really do any physical work because I'm too old, right? But I'm going to teach you how to cook. So she would sit and teach me how to cook. And in our culture, and we're talking 40 years ago, was no less than that because I was 13 then. So we're talking about, say, 25 years ago. Elders always ate first, and they still do in some of our communities. That elders would eat first. So actually tasting your food while you're cooking it was seen as that you've spoilt the food. Right, so Enoch, I learned, right, I thought everybody did this, right? So I cook by smell.
Whoa.
So I smell the level of salt, the level of garam masala, the level of haldi, the level...
You can smell the level of salt?
I did not know that. I thought everybody could do it. But I cook by smell because the first bit of any cooking that I do would be consumed by an elder, so it'd be whatever. Yeah. So, but I thought everybody did that until I saw Jamie Oliver and other Nigella Lawson. They're like, what is this?
This is cheating.
This is funny. I honestly couldn't I thought maybe chefs just did that. I thought it was a chef thing for the TV. I didn't realise everybody tasted their food. Yeah. So that's my party trick. If you ever invite me, I'll cook you a meal.
Interesting. So you finished school, and I guess there was that support from, and over the generation, attitude has changed to folks going to school and all that.
Yeah. So I think my mum broke a lot of the barriers, but being the first daughter, first grandchild from my dad's side, I was the first at doing lots of things. So from passing my driving test to going to university to working, I was always the first. So I felt a unsaid pressure from my generation because I was setting a standard. That's what I felt. Nobody said that to me.
I know nobody, but you just get that feeling that don't mess up.
So nothing was ever good enough. So I continued to do. I need to study more. I need to do, and then I'm from an Asian background, right? So at one point I wanted to. And again, I'll just say this out loud. My moral compass has changed, as I've got older. But when I was younger, I was like, if I'm going to get out of bed, I want to get paid the most I can. I'm being honest. I was young, right? Yeah. If I'm going to get out of bed, I want to be paid. So it became my vision, drive to say, and plus, if I work in an organisation, I want the chief of that organisation to know who I am, right? I don't know where that came from, right? And then the other bit that added to that is that I would take advice because I grew up around elders. Mostly when you start as a young person, everybody's older than you, aren't they, in the workplace? Near enough, everybody's older than you. So I was very humble in listening. I listened a lot, right? And it came easy to me because I came from a household that was multi-generational. We listened. And somebody gave me an advice, Enoch, right, that said, look, when you come to work, right, you do the job 2 levels above you. I'm like, well, that makes sense, because you want to step up so that at least you'll get to the next level. But you know what this wise woman went on and then said to me? But you dress 3 levels above you.
Okay.
I'm like, that's really interesting, isn't it?
Break that down. I would like to understand.
So she was talking about when you're doing your work, always think about not just the next level up, the level above that, because those are the levels that'll be hiring you, right? So if they can see you doing things that would do to positions above you, then you're more likely to get to the next position quite quickly. So that really worked well for me. But the dress bit of it, right? And this comes to the piece about presenteeism. When you turn up into a room, does it stop and look? No, it's a question. Does it stop and look? Because half of what is said is unsaid, right? People, and this is a trait of personalities in people, like we're human. You said that we're human. Is that people will judge you as soon as they see you. They will make a judgment. Though it doesn't matter how hard we try not to, we will. We will make some sort of judgment, right? either based on what you're wearing, based on your shoes, based on how you're standing, based on how you're looking, based on how much you use your hands. I better stop using my hands because you're filming this as well, isn't it? I was going to say nobody's going to see this, but I do love playing about my hands. And what her sentiments in that was, if you don't see yourself as a future leader, and how can somebody else see you as that? If you can't see yourself as an expert of whatever it is, right? How can somebody else? And also, there are people that will continue to in your life judge you and how you look. So it's a wee tweak.
Just fact.
That is fact. Completely. Doesn't matter any type of, psychological training you'll end up doing or being part of. People will judge you and how you look. So an easy fix for that is dress well. When you walk into a space, spend a little bit of time, as you do in learning something, as you do in practicing over and over, that dressing well. And Enoch, you are a sharp dresser. I know I've met a lot of people in the wider Black Professionals Network who are beautiful dressers, men and women and young children, young people as well. And my heart sings when I see that, because I'm thinking you're not just thinking about the educational, the insight, you're thinking about the emotional intelligence.
How you show up.
That's the emotional intelligence, isn't it? The softer things. And actually there's no course, I mean, I've never seen a course about dressing well, isn't it? Maybe that's something you could start, I could be your sidekick.
Don't start rumors. Don't start rumors. But yeah, so like, it would be good to then take us through the journey of starting your career. So if you finished your accounting degree, what university did you go to?
Strathclyde.
Strathclyde University, okay. You finished from Strathclyde University and did you go into practice, the traditional?
So what happened was that in 5th year of secondary school, I know the youngsters call it high school now, you have 6 weeks off in summer, isn't it? You get 6 weeks off. So my father at that point said, well, actually, why don't you go into an office and work as an office admin? 6 weeks, you'll get a little bit of money, and you'll get some experience. And then you're not stuck around the house, because what I would have done was just stuck around the house and help my mum and help my grandparent and look after my brothers. So I ended up getting a little job in a wee office, and it was in the filing. So in the olden days, we had these big files which you would pull out, and then you would bring a case out, you would open it up, and then you'd file bits of paper. You'd close it, put it back in into filing cabinets. I know some of your younger listeners would be thinking, what is she talking about?
No, they'll think, what does she mean by filing? What is a file? You know what's funny? So I took what was I gonna do at the bank? I was gonna deposit a check at the bank recently, and then I took my kids with me, and we go in, and they said, Dad, what's this place? So they don't understand the concept of physical banks.
Physical banking.
How times have changed.
How it is.
So, and I had to then explain to them that, this is where you had to do the whole proper explanation. I was thinking times have changed to the point that when they grow older, these physical banks will not be here anymore. It will all be gone online. Maybe there'll be one bank per city or something. But anyway, just as an aside.
That's really interesting. Actually, my daughter went for a placement just this summer to JP Morgan, and they talked about the future of banking. So I remember one of the nights we sat and we talked about it, what my idea of future banking looked like versus her.
Very different.
And and we have now things in museums like a fax machine. I used to love playing on a fax machine in my office.
Now in the museum. You'll be pleased to know they still use fax in Germany.
Lovely.
And they only just wrote into law to stop using floppy disk. Is it in Japan or something? Like places where you think are really technically advanced. They still hold on to some things that make you go, are you kidding me? Like Germany is supposed to be like really tech, not tech, but like engineering and whatnot, and fax. Till today, because we've got Black Professionals Europe, so I still have a lot of touch points with Germany, and I hear these things, and it gets me going, because I'm thinking this is slow. It makes things go slow.
It does.
Unlike in the UK where it's just bang, 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 everything is online. You filed, you've done things, but in Germany you still need to fax some things. You still need to get escrow. You still need to get a lawyer to sign this and all that. But anyway,
or do they know something we don't?
No, they don't. They're just annoying.
Well said. So I ended up having a 5-week placement, and I was always going to go away and do my accountancy.
That's it.
And do you know what happened? They ended up saying, look, we really enjoyed you. So I give it gung-ho. You know, it was my first job. I was a wee 16-year-old.
And did you make sure the CEO knew your name?
Yes, of course I did. Of course. And the CEO was just the office manager. So of course they did, they knew my name. And I did the most filing for that person as well. But I did such a great job, and I was the richest student, because I think I earned in 5 weeks something like £138. I know.
That's a lot of
you
money.
Get that, you know. Back then,
That's
I
a lot of
was
money.
like
Yeah.
a millionaire with 100.
That is a lot of money,
and I was
for
paid
real.
by cheque.
Nice.
It wasn't a bank transfer. It was a
Physical.
cheque.
You feel it.
I know
Did
you
you keep
feel
it for a long
I
time?
smelt it.
Yeah.
No. I wanted cash, right? So
ASAP.
I was like, straight into the bank. So they ended up saying, why don't you stay with us as you go through your degree,
All right.
and we will switch you into the finance department. So what happened is I studied for 4 days, and then the one day I would come back to the office and do work in their finance department.
So were you just fortunate that your university had 1 day free, or?
It worked out. You had a bit of I think there's more choice now, but even
Yep.
back then there was a level of choice you were able
Okay,
to do.
okay.
So so there's a bit of a negotiation that was needed.
Okay.
And they were still very flexible. It didn't have to be the set day. So if anything changed in my schedule of education, then they were able to flex on it.
I think you're probably the first graduate apprentice.
I was an apprentice before it was called the
Yeah,
apprentice.
no, graduate apprentice.
Yeah.
You're probably the first official, unofficial graduate apprentice.
Yeah, it was never called that. It's never. And then they had, and because of the structure, I wasn't like I had to stay with them for so many years, because we didn't have this
Yep.
thinking of what an
Yep.
apprenticeship looked and feel like. But I did. I paid my due, and it was fabulous. And again, during student life, I was the richest student. I mean, I was only getting like 50, 60 pounds.
Yeah, but still, that's
Well,
way
it's
more than
like
most kids.
50, 60
Yeah,
pounds.
yeah.
Woohoo. And that would afford me petrol for my car when I eventually got it. But yeah, so it was, and then I realised actually I needed to jump in. Once I got my degree, I jumped into the private sector. So I started working for the financial sector. Firstly in the banking and accountancy division, but I quickly learned to progress, I needed to take big risks. And risks came with delivering programmes that some people didn't want to touch, Enoch. So I thought, I don't really have a big reputation. I'm new to the game. I'm going to try and deliver some of the really hard stuff like systems change, new equipment and process into the infrastructure, tactical and technical changes through contact centre running. So it wasn't just for Scotland, it was UK wide and then international. I was fortunate, so I was in the right time in the right space, but also because I had planned ahead. Most of the things I touched did win, and I had a tenacity. There was no way I was going to fail. There was no way that was going to happen. Right? In my back of my mind, I was thinking, it's going to happen. Right, back to the first, isn't it? First, so much so, then I ended up, doing offshore disinvestment, and then more laterally, before I finished my career in the private sector, I was part of the team that did the Lloyds Banking Group merger. So remember Bank of Scotland, Lloyds, TSB, Scottish Widows, all those affiliates that came together, the Lloyds Banking Group. I had the beautiful, fortunate opportunity to be part of that team. And by the end of it, I had wrote myself out of a job. So I wrote myself out of a job, and I was given a 31 a golden handshake.
A 30 what?
A 31.
What does that mean?
So at
at 31, right.
At 31 years old, I was given a golden handshake.
Right, thanks.
So you know how you think about retiring before you're 65? I used to think, I'm going to retire when I'm 50. At 31, I'm sitting in. It wasn't retirement like go and get a yacht in the Bahamas. It was live within your means, you'll be okay. I was like, what do I do with myself? What do I do? I mean, I didn't expect that to happen, but it happened. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't, I've skipped over lots of challenges that came out of it, and for interest of time, there's something about highlighting just my mindset, which was about being intentional, but being also relational.
Okay.
So Scotland's tiny, but actually the world's tiny now. Pandemic has shown us, hasn't it, Enoch, that relationships are so important. And Enoch, the world's tiny. Don't burn bridges with anybody.
Oh, I know.
Because you talked about that circular bit. It is a circular economy.
Yep.
People keep coming back round again and again. And then what if you didn't, leave your last contact well? Do you know, lo and behold, maybe not a year, maybe not 2 years, that person's going to come back
eventually
again.
Yep, that's true. So be intentional. Relationships are important. I think the relationship one is really important for those in our community anyway, because the mindset is, if you work hard, you'll be successful. But that's false. Working hard is important.
Indeed.
But that's not a guarantee for success. And it's something we are continuing to within our community teach, coach, mentor folks on around the softer side. For example, what you said about what you wear, those softer skills. So I was chatting to a guy today. He just got a role as a graduate trainee in a law firm. And it's interesting. So, I mean, he's been working for a few years, so he's clued up on how the office environment works. So, and he said, in his new role, a lot of those guys are older, and all they do is golf. So now, he's picking up golf. Wow. It's those soft skills where, if you play what they play, they'll probably like you more than if you talk about football and they're all playing golf, because they'll be like, this guy's not one of us. And it's not to say people should change who they are, but it's around knowing, what do I want? What are the things I need to do to get there? One of it is building relationship, being relatable. So what will come in on Monday, you're like, what did you get up to? I was playing 2 holes down that golf. And you say, I was playing 4 holes. There's that familiarity, which then, especially when you come from a different community, where you've got to put that extra work, where you've got a lot of differences, but they can also see a lot of similarities, where they can see you as, he's one of the guys, or he's one of the girls, or whatever. So I think that relationship is really important, and hopefully for those listening, they can pick up on that, about being, not just building relationships, but being intentional about it. There's that intentionality where, just the way you said, when you go into a place, you want the CEO to know your name. Is that being intentional about relationships you build, how you build them, especially, again, if you maybe this is not for everyone, but if you're an ambitious person that wants to go far, then I think that's really important. So how did you go then from being retired at the age of 31 to now to where you are now, which is a very different place? I don't want to jump into, so I wanted to sort of talk us through that.
So thank you. And the other bit is during that journey, which now takes me into my next phase of my life, right? So this is my second career, isn't it? This is my second career now, and I did a lot of mentoring and learning from others, that sort of mutual piece, and I learned as much as I put into the system. And Enoch, there is enough room for all of us.
Yep.
Right? There is, nobody needs to hold the space themselves. There is enough room for all of us, and actually diversity is a superpower. So the more of us, people of colour, people of different cultural backgrounds, are in rooms together, that's how we're going to shift the system. So sitting at 31, I then had my daughter, and Anissa, who's 13. I'm cringe mum, Enoch, and I know you're not cringe dad yet, but I'm cringe mum. And how can I be a cringe mum? Do you know what I did last year? Because my daughter said it loud, my mummy's cringe. I went and got my biking licence, so I'm a biker now. Yes.
As in motorbike?
Motorbikes, yes. I know you had to ask that. It's quite funny because most of the male people I tell to, they think I'm talking about a pedal bike. But no, a motorbike. So I have a Yamaha Tracer 700 and a Honda GT. Two. Why have one when you can have two?
So are you part of a bike club, or is that just a solo thing?
I got inherited by a group of more mature bikers, which they're lovely. They're really nice. They come around every so often, and they help me understand the chains and how you have to oil them and all these little things, right? And I love it. So it's my second summer on the bike. I'm not
the leather, the full works.
The full works, because I'm very high when it comes to safety.
Kits,
the kit is really it's my own safety. I mean, I'm not a confident biker yet, so I'll never take a passenger, like a Pauline passenger with me. But I want to be safe while I'm on the road. I protect myself, but also have fun. Have fun. So I love it, and it's it's still, I can see people gasp when I take my helmet off, because my visor's black, right?
It's like
so they
double take.
When I take it off, and my helmet, my hair's like this, right? I've got helmet here, and I take it off, right? And they go, hold on, was that a woman? Was that a woman of colour that was on that? But so wow. I mean, I love it. But that's part of my adrenaline psyche, because I love anything that with speed, you know. And it was just a natural to go into motorbikes. And we need to pick up, because I love water sports, so I've jet skied for most of my life, and then I think going on to motorbikes was not.
So there's a need. You've got this need for speed.
Yes, it is in every part of my life. I don't, and you're very similar in the sense that, you know, you're not satisfied till you're doing something. So back to then what happened. So I had my daughter, but being a mum is such a hard job. So big up to all the mums and carers out there, Enoch. Really hard job.
They do a
but
great
I
job.
needed something else to simulate my mind. So somebody said to me, go and work for the NHS. I was like, oh, never thought about it.
Why NHS? Why did they say NHS specifically?
Because my siblings are in the NHS.
Okay.
Right. I was the dark horse in the private sector. So I was like, okay, right, everybody else is doing it, right, I'll join the club, and I'll and again, I don't think I've ever said this out loud, it was my experience. So I said, I'm young enough, I'll just work up the ranks. I don't mind at all. You know, a bit hard grit, you know, doing it. So I applied for junior roles, never got them. Never got any of the roles I applied for. And I'm thinking there's something.
And was there feedback? Was it you're not qualified enough, or you're overqualified?
Well, I think I dulled everything down because I wanted the job. I wanted to get busy and doing something, and I think people could see through it. You know, they could see through my ambition of wanting to continue to keep going. So there was this thing about she's not going to be with us for long because she'll be always looking for something else. I can think it doesn't. You can't dull your ambition down. It's very hard to dull it down, especially when you get a little bit mature. And then the senior role came up, and it was unheard of even like 8-9 years ago to be appointed at that senior level out with the public sector, right? And I went from it, and I remember it was the day the beast from the east. Remember when it was snowing?
Yes.
Everything was shut. I arrived to my interview about 5.5 hours late.
Was that not 2018 or 2019?
Something, yeah. So I arrived to my interview late, right, 5.5 hours late. But I phoned them to say, I've made a commitment to you. I said I'd be there. I'm going to be there. So I eventually got there after walking, skiing.
No motorbikes yet.
No motorbikes yet. Skiing on the motorway because literally there was just snow, and then a bit of car, and I finally got there. It was, and I think you could see the fact that by the interviewers you've made a commitment to come. Had the interview the next morning, I got a phone call to say we've made our decision. And I was like, oh, right, this is my phone call off. I'm not going to get it.
I know when they say that. They should just say, you're in.
But they did. Yeah. They phoned me in the morning and they said...
No, but they shouldn't say, we've made a decision.
We made a decision. I know.
Because they're like,
said that. I know. And
like, hi, Manira, it's John. You're in.
Like, boom. I love that. I'm going to put that down as feedback. I love that. And I want to say the rest is history. There's been lots, and we don't have the time to go through it. Do you know, there was a lot of biases and people that didn't know how to interact and do things, and those were the same people that ended up being my best friends.
And I guess we're coming with a different mindset and a different way of working as well, which may be different to what some of the people there were used to. Was
You're
that
right.
the case?
The public sector has this traditional bit of that.
Its own momentum. Momentum.
I'm glad you said that. It does have. It's got its own ecosystem, right? And I love it because I love everything my colleagues do.
Well, you can't smash them now, can you? You're one of them.
No, they are part of my tribe, Enoch. Don't put ones in my mouth. They are part of my tribe and I love them. But so my pace has always been different, you know, and there are others in the system that go at that pace. It's been good. I still work as if I work for the private sector, which is, do you know, but the value isn't money, the value is outcomes. So my two big ambitions, Enoch, right, and I know you really believe in these, is reducing health inequalities, and helping people live longer in a homely setting. That's my big two ambitions, right? And one agency, one sector can't do this on their own, Enoch. We need every sector to mobilise themselves, and actually we need the superpower of diversity, because we're a diverse nation in Scotland. We're big but we're small. There's 6 million give and take of us. That's not big.
No.
Yeah, and look at the level of diversity that we have. So diversity is a superpower. So my ambition right now, I don't do big long-term plans, but I do have one thing on that plan, if I can say it out loud, is I'm not going to step back until I see that level of diversity in leadership. So I've made it my mission, as well as colleagues around me, their mission as well. I know they're adopting it and adapted it, to make the leadership of Scotland diverse and representative, so that when we're making decisions, when we're trying to pull the wider system together, we're hearing the right voices, not just lived experience, but experience of the rich culture differences that we have in Scotland. And that's my mission. That really is my long-term mission.
Yeah, because we had that chat last month, and that was why I went away with like, oh, she's really passionate about that stuff. So, and that comes through from that 20-minute conversation that we had. And I'm just going to point on something, because we're just coming to the end of the conversation now. On your LinkedIn, you jump around. I think that's the best way to describe it for someone that does not see your LinkedIn. You're playful. You get people to jump on tables. You get people to just flap their hands. You go into meetings, you get everyone to get up. Most very senior leaders don't do that, but you do that. And after listening to you, I want to assume that's just who you are. So the point I want to make, and tell me if I'm wrong, is as a leader, as you go on your journey, don't lose who you are. It's good to look at other leaders and try to emulate them, but you need to develop your own style of leadership and your own character. Because when I think of you, generally that's what I think of. I think of this person that wants to get people moving. That's sort of my brand, if I'm to brand you in one sentence, because that's what you've shown and that's what you speak about. So what's your thoughts about that for those that are listening around being themselves? I mean, it's difficult to be your authentic self 100%, I know, but it's how can you still be yourself and a leader? Yeah,
and that's a dichotomy, or it's a balancing act in Enoch, and because we've got limited time, I'm going to maybe just make one or two quick points on that, if that's okay.
You've got 1 minute.
Oh, fabulous, right.
Go.
1 minute normally I flap my hands about. So being authentic is a hard job. It's a hard job. But what I found has helped me is find your own passion, you know. And it's a saying that's come from the Japanese concept of ikigai, right? Which is 4 domains, you know. And you know this well because we've talked about this. It's about knowing your purpose in life, having a mission around that purpose, being able to give the world what it needs, and then being able to be paid for it. And there's a sweet spot in the middle, and that's the spot that I hope I play in a lot, which is I'm giving the world what it needs. I'm doing something that I'm really passionate about. My mission makes sense, not just to me, but to others around me, and I get paid for it. Now, it's taken me till this long, and it's my second career to get to that point. Yeah, so it's not easy, right? And some people normally just do one career in their life span, yeah? I'm still thinking about my third one yet, so any ideas, Enoch, I'm ready to take that on board. But I think that's really, really important. And actually, we have to be smarter. So that we tip about when you walk into a room, make sure you're dressed well, right? Just as you give the information importance, give your appearance that little bit of importance. Because we're living in a world that has humans. Humans have personalities, and every personality is that literally we could have 6 million different personalities in Scotland for the people we have.
Fantastic. And we have wrapping up now, we've got a culture here on our show, and we get a guest to leave an advice for the next guest without knowing who the next guest is. Just leave an advice. So our last guest, the advice they gave was from Atayakub. I don't know if you know Atayakub.
Yeah, I don't know Atayakub,
feel and be the change that you want to do for others. Feel and be the change that you want to do to others. So don't just try and drive change. You also be the change that you want to see in others. So what advice, and I think that lines up perfectly what you're doing, which is, we want to try and get people moving and all that. So and you already doing it. So I think that embodies who you are. So what advice do you have for our next guest?
I think for me, 2 things that are so interrelated, which is continue to be intentional in the spaces you hold. So continue to be intentional in the spaces you hold, but never sell out in building a relationship.
Good.
So being intentional and give relationships the right importance.
Deep.
That's too deep. I feel there's another
That is super
conversation
deep.
around that.
That is super. I think we're going to bring you back for part 2, definitely. Continue to be intentional in the spaces you hold, but don't sell out in trying to form a relationship.
Yeah.
Yep. Fantastic. Manira, it's been a pleasure. It's been a blessing being with you on the show today. I'm listening to you, having conversations. I mean, even the conversations we had before we went live, and some of my potential crazy ambitions to shake things up in the sports world. But thank you very much. And that's everything from all of us from the show today. Thank you for listening, and see you on the next show. Thank you.